Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something fundamental, habits.
That's right. We're going deep into the science and strategies behind them, drawing from some really insightful material, including a major bestseller on the topic.
Exactly.
Mm.
Our mission for you today is pretty straightforward. We want to unpack how you can build better habits, break the ones holding you back, and honestly, make some real changes.
It's not just about the what, is it? It's the why and the how. Why do these tiny actions matter so much, and how can you actually make them stick?
You got it. Because seemingly small, consistent things, they really do compound into, well, remarkable results.
Absolutely. And to really kick this off, there's this incredibly powerful personal story from the author of the main book we're looking at. It kind of sets the stage perfectly.
It really does. Okay, picture this. It's the last day of his sophomore year in high school. He's playing baseball, life's normal, and then disaster strikes.
Yeah, a teammate swings a bat, it slips, and hits him square between the eyes. He doesn't even remember the impact.
It sounds horrific. The bat crushed his nose, fractured his skull in multiple places, shattered both eye sockets. He ended up in a coma. Just devastating.
Truly life-altering. And what adds another layer is his family already knew hospitals too well. His younger sister had battled leukemia when she was just 3, so they weren't strangers to that difficult environment.
Wow. So his recovery, it must have been incredibly long and tough.
Oh, absolutely. Multiple surgeries, weeks in the hospital. But it was during that really challenging time that he started, maybe without even realizing it, using these small, consistent actions, these small habits to rebuild piece by piece.
So fast forward a year, he's back on the baseball field. But it wasn't this triumphant return you might imagine, not right away.
No, quite the opposite initially. He was the only junior cut from the varsity team. Had to play JV.
Ouch. For someone who loved the game, dreamed of playing professionally, that must have been crushing, humiliating.
He talks about sitting in his car, just crying, desperate for a song on the radio to, make him feel okay. But here's the thing. He didn't quit. That drive to get back on varsity, it became this real turning point.
And that determination, it clearly paid off.
Yeah.
Big time.
Hugely. Despite that awful start, he went on to have this incredible athletic career at Denison University, top male athlete there, named to the ESPN Academic All-America team. It's a huge deal. Only 33 players across the whole country.
Wow. And academically strong, too.
Yeah, absolutely. By the time he graduated, he was in 8 school record books for baseball and got the President's Medal, their highest academic honor.
That's some turnaround.
Yeah.
From a near-fatal accident and being cut from the team to that level of success. But he didn't stop there, right? He moved into writing.
Yeah, and interestingly, he talks about feeling like an imposter at first, which is kind of ironic given he became this go-to expert on habits.
It's relatable, though, that feeling.
Yeah.
But he stuck with it.
He did. Built a newsletter, little by little, habit by habit, you could say, reached hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Then the book deal with a major publisher, speaking engagements at huge companies all over the world.
So this whole journey, it's not just a story, it's living proof of the core idea.
Exactly. It's like he says, to write a great book, you must first become the book. His success wasn't magic. It was the result of all these small, consistent habits piling up over time. It's a real testament to unlocking potential through these tiny, atomic changes.
Okay, atomic. Let's unpack that word itself. It's obviously central here.
Right. So atomic basically means an extremely small amount of something, like the single irreducible unit of a bigger system. Think atoms making up molecules.
The fundamental building block.
Precisely. And this connects directly to the idea of the aggregation of marginal gains. It's about understanding that huge improvements often come from optimizing these tiny fundamental parts.
And the classic example, the one everyone talks about, is British cycling. Their story is just incredible.
It really is. Before 2003, they were, frankly, terrible. Nearly 100 years of mediocrity. Only one Olympic gold since 1908. Never won the Tour de France in over a century.
It was so bad, a top bike company apparently refused to sell them bikes, worried it would damage their brand.
Yeah, that's the story. They were that much of an afterthought. But then Dave Brailsford came in as performance director in 2003.
And he brought this whole new philosophy.
He did, the aggregation of marginal gains. His idea was, okay, let's break down everything involved in riding a bike, everything, and then just improve each tiny little thing by 1%.
And he went deep on this, didn't he? Like really deep.
Oh, yeah. We're talking tiny adjustments to bike seats for better power, testing different massage gels for muscle recovery. They even hired a surgeon to teach the team proper hand washing to cut down on colds.
Hand washing. And didn't they paint the inside of the team truck white?
Yep, so they could spot even tiny specks of dust that might affect the finely tuned bikes. They looked at the pillows and mattresses riders slept on for better rest. Every single detail.
Obsessive. But the results, they were just staggering.
Astounding. Within 5 years, the 2008 Beijing Olympics, they completely dominated, won something like 60% of the gold medals in road and track cycling.
And then London 2012.
Even better, 8 golds, I think. Then, Bradley Wiggins wins the Tour de France in 2012, the first Brit ever. Then Chris Froome wins it multiple times. A complete transformation built on 1% improvements. Makes you think.
It really does. Where are those 1% gains hiding in our own lives?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the math behind this. That 1% sounds small, but the compounding.
It's incredibly powerful. Get 1% better each day for a year, and you end up 37 times better. 37.
Wow. But the flip side is just as dramatic.
Yeah, get 1% worse each day, and you decline nearly to 0. It shows how these small choices, good or bad, just snowball over time into something massive.
So it's less about where you are right now and more about the direction you're heading, your trajectory.
Exactly. Your daily habits define your trajectory. A millionaire spending wildly is on a worse path than someone broke saving a tiny bit each month. Your outcomes, your weight, your bank balance, your knowledge, they're lagging indicators of the habits you repeat.
Okay, but here's the part that gets frustrating for so many people, myself included. You start a new habit, you put in the effort, but you don't see results right away. That plateau of latent potential.
Ah, yes, the valley of disappointment. It's so common. We expect progress to be linear, like a nice, steady, upward slope. But reality is often different. Results get delayed.
So you're working hard, maybe for weeks, maybe months, and it feels like nothing's happening. It's easy to give up there.
Totally. The ice cube analogy illustrates this perfectly. Imagine an ice cube at 25 degrees Fahrenheit. You start warming the room. 26, 27, 28 degrees. Still an ice cube. Nothing looks different.
Right, feels like wasted effort.
But it's not. The energy is being stored. Then you hit 31 degrees, still ice. But at 32 degrees, boom. It melts. The change seems sudden, but it was the result of all that gradual, unseen work finally reaching a threshold.
So the breakthrough isn't sudden, it just looks sudden. It's all the stored effort paying off.
Exactly. That's why people talk about overnight success. It's rarely overnight. It's the result of persistent effort finally breaking through that plateau. It's like geological pressure building up.
So if you're struggling with a habit, it might not be you. It might just be that you haven't crossed that threshold yet. You haven't broken through the plateau.
That's often the case. It's not a lack of ability. It's often a lack of persistence. Through that initial phase where results aren't obvious, keep storing that energy.
This really shifts the focus. Which brings us to another big shift the author talks about. Moving away from a goals-first mentality.
Yeah, this is pretty counterintuitive to how many of us think about achievement, we're told. Set specific, actionable goals. But there are problems with focusing only on the goal.
Okay, like what? What's problem number one?
Winners and losers often have the exact same goals. Think about it. Every single athlete at the Olympics wants the gold medal. Every candidate applying for a job wants the position. The goal itself can't be what separates them.
That's a really good point. Never thought of it that way. Okay, problem two.
Achieving a goal is only a momentary change. It doesn't fix the underlying system. The messy room example is great here. Your goal is a clean room. You achieve it. Great. But if you still have messy habits, the room will just get messy again.
So you're just treating the symptom, not the cause. You have to fix the system that leads to the messy room.
Precisely. Fix the inputs, the outputs take care of themselves. Otherwise, you're just constantly chasing the same outcome.
And the third problem with goals.
Goals can restrict your happiness. There's this implicit idea, once I reach my goal, then I'll be happy. It constantly pushes happiness into the future. Plus, it sets up this binary. Either I succeed or I fail. It limits your view of what success can look like.
Okay, so if not goals, then what? Systems?
Embrace a systems-first approach. Goals are the results you want. Systems are the processes that lead to those results.
Give me an example.
Okay, a coach's goal is the championship. The system is how they recruit, manage practices, develop players day to day. An entrepreneur's goal might be $1 million business. The system is how they test product ideas, hire people, run marketing campaigns.
So it's about focusing on the daily actions, the routine, falling in love with the process itself.
Exactly. When you focus on the system, you don't have to wait for the goal to feel successful. You can feel good every time your system runs. It opens up many paths to feeling satisfied and successful along the way. You ultimately fall to the level of your systems.
This is deep stuff.
Yeah.
And it leads to maybe the deepest level of change. Identity-based habits.
Right. Think of behavior change happening on 3 levels, like layers of an onion. The outside layer is changing your outcomes. Losing weight, publishing a book, what you get.
Okay, layer 2.
Changing your process, implementing a new workout routine, setting a writing schedule, what you do.
And the core, the deepest layer.
Changing your identity, changing what you believe about yourself, your self-image, your worldview, who you are.
And the argument is that focusing on identity is the most effective way to change habits.
By far. It's about focusing not on what you want to achieve, but on who you wish to become.
So it's the difference between saying, I want to be thin versus I am a healthy person, or I want to write a book versus I am a writer.
Precisely. The second statement in each pair is rooted in identity. It's much more powerful. It shifts from wanting something external to being someone internal.
And pride plays a role here.
A huge role. The more pride you associate with a part of your identity, the more motivated you are to maintain the habits that support it. If you're proud of being a runner, you won't miss runs. If you're proud of being tidy, you'll keep things organized. Pride makes you fight to uphold those habits.
So every action we take is like casting a vote for the person we want to be.
That's a great way to put it. Your identity emerges from your habits. Each time you do something, go to the gym, write a page, meditate for a minute, you're casting a vote for being that type of person. You're providing evidence to yourself.
Which means real, lasting behavior change isn't just about actions, it is identity change.
Fundamentally, yes. To become the best version of yourself, you need to continuously edit your beliefs and upgrade your identity. The ultimate benefit of habits isn't just better results, it's that they change how you see yourself.
Okay, so how does the brain actually do this? How are habits formed? You mentioned deficiency earlier.
Exactly. Your conscious mind can only focus on one thing at a time. It's a bottleneck. So the brain is constantly looking for ways to offload tasks to the non-conscious mind, to run them automatically. That's what a habit is, an automated solution that frees up conscious attention.
And this happens through a 4-step loop, the habit loop.
Correct. 4 stages. Cue, craving, response, reward. Let's break them down.
Okay, first step, cue.
The cue is the trigger. It's a bit of information that predicts a reward. It could be anything, a time of day, a location, an emotional state, the notification sound on your phone. Your brain is constantly scanning for these cues.
Then comes the craving.
This is the motivation, the desire. Importantly, you don't crave the habit itself, you crave the change in state it delivers. You don't crave smoking, you crave the feeling of stress relief it seems to offer. You don't crave scrolling social media, you crave the feeling of connection or distraction.
Got it. Step 3 is the response.
This is the actual habit, the thought or action you perform. Whether you do it depends on the motivation from the craving and how much friction or effort is involved. If it's too hard, you won't do it, no matter how much you crave the outcome.
And finally, the reward.
The reward is the end goal. It does 2 things. It satisfies the craving. Food satisfies hunger, checking email satisfies curiosity, and crucially, it teaches the brain. Hey, this action led to a good outcome. Let's remember this for next time. It reinforces the loop.
So, cue, craving, response, reward. This loop is constantly running.
Constantly. Often in a split second, totally unconsciously. Scanning, predicting, trying, learning. The cue and craving are the problem phase, noticing something needs addressing. The response and reward are the solution phase, taking action to address it.
And the scary part is, we don't even need to be aware of the cue for the habit to start.
That's the thing. Habits can be triggered without conscious thought, which is useful but also dangerous. Over time, cues become invisible, the TV remote, the cookie jar, your phone. The urge just seems to appear out of nowhere.
Like Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate.
Precisely. That quote perfectly sets up why awareness is the absolute foundation for changing behavior, which leads us directly into the 4 laws.
Right. The practical framework. Law number 1 for building good habits. Make it obvious.
And the first tool here is super simple but effective. The habit scorecard. Just write down your current habits for a day. Wake up, check phone, brush teeth, make coffee, everything.
I do that.
It forces awareness. You start to see your actual behaviors, the good, the bad, the neutral. You identify the cues that trigger them. It brings the unconscious into the light.
I like that. And then there's that technique from the Japanese railways, pointing and calling.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Train operators physically point at signals, speedometers, whatever, and verbally call out the status. Signal is green. Speed is 70.
Why does that help?
It makes an unconscious habit conscious. It engages multiple senses, sight, touch, speech, hearing, makes them much more likely to notice if something is wrong.
So how can we use that? Point at our keys and say, got keys.
Exactly. Or point at the cookie jar and say, I'm about to eat this cookie, which will make me gain weight. It adds a moment of conscious friction, makes you pause and consider rather than acting mindlessly.
Okay, another strategy under Make It Obvious is using implementation intentions. Sounds fancy, but it's simple, right?
Very simple. It's just deciding in advance when and where you'll act. The formula is, I will behavior at time and location.
So not just I'll meditate more, but I will meditate for 1 minute at 7 a.m. in my kitchen.
Precisely. That specificity removes ambiguity. It tells your brain exactly what to do and when. It helps overcome vagueness and makes it easier to follow through. Setting these intentions, especially around clear starting points like Monday morning, makes a huge difference.
And related to that is habit stacking.
Yeah, this one's brilliant. You leverage an existing habit to trigger a new one. The formula. After current habit, I will habit new habit.
Like after I pour my morning coffee, I will think of one thing I'm grateful for.
Perfect. The existing habit, coffee, becomes the cue for the new habit, gratitude. It automatically builds in the time and place. The key is picking a current habit that happens at the frequency you want the new habit to occur. And again, be specific about the cue.
This all points towards the power of our surroundings, designing your environment.
Hugely important. We're massively influenced by what's obvious and easy in our environment. Think about supermarkets. Why are candy bars at the checkout? Why are expensive brands at eye level? It's all designed to make certain choices obvious and effortless.
Because our vision is so dominant.
Exactly. Half the brain's resources go to vision. So make the cues for your good habits obvious in your own environment. Want to practice guitar? Don't hide it in the closet. Put it on a stand in the living room. Want to drink more water? Keep a water bottle on your desk.
It's about consciously designing your space instead of just reacting to it, becoming the architect of your environment.
You got it. Take back control. Don't just live in a world designed by others. Design it to support who you want to become.
And context matters hugely, too. Habits get tied to the whole environment, not just one trigger.
Right, like that study with insomniacs. They were told only get in bed when tired, leave if they couldn't sleep. Over time, their brain associated the bed only with sleep, breaking the old association of bed equals tossing and turning.
So changing your environment can actually make it easier to change a habit, like going to a different coffee shop to work.
Absolutely. You escape the old cues. If you can't change environments, try redesigning your current one. The one space, one use idea. Have distinct places for work, relaxing, sleeping. Avoid mixing contexts, which is hard, with devices like phones that do everything.
A stable environment leads to more stable behavior. Makes sense.
Okay, so that's making good habits obvious. What about breaking bad ones? We use the inversion. Make it invisible.
So it's not about willpower.
Less than you think. Real self-control is often about creating a disciplined environment where you don't need much willpower. It's easier to avoid temptation if the temptation isn't there.
The Vietnam heroin study is a stark example here.
Incredibly stark. High rates of addiction among soldiers in Vietnam, where cues were everywhere. But back home, away from those cues, the vast majority quit relatively easily. Compare that to typical rehab outcomes where relapse is common because people return to the same environment full of triggers.
It shows how persistent habits are once they're encoded. The urge comes back when the cue reappears, even years later.
Exactly. Which means just resisting temptation is a losing strategy long term. It drains your energy. You're better off cutting the bad habit off at the source. Reduce exposure to the cue.
Practical examples.
If your phone distracts you from work, leave it in another room. If certain social media accounts make you feel bad, unfollow them. If you binge watch TV in bed, take the TV out of the bedroom. Make the cue invisible, or at least less obvious.
So it's about environment design again, just in reverse. Make the bad stuff harder to stumble upon.
Precisely. Make the cues for your bad habits invisible. Okay, law number 2. Make it attractive.
This dives into the brain chemistry, the dopamine loop.
Right. And the key insight is that dopamine isn't just released when you get a reward, It spikes in anticipation of a reward. The anticipation, the craving, is often more motivating than the reward itself. Our brains are wired more for wanting than for liking.
Which explains why thinking about a vacation can sometimes feel better than the vacation itself.
Exactly. And modern society exploits this like crazy with supernormal stimuli,
What are their...
exaggerated versions of reality that hijack our reward systems. Junk food engineered for the perfect bliss point of salt, sugar, fat. Social media likes giving little dopamine hits. Photoshopped images creating unrealistic standards. They amplify things we're naturally drawn to, driving excessive behaviors.
So how do we use this attraction principle for good habits? Temptation bundling.
Yes. This is where you link an action you want to do with an action you need to do. The engineering student who hacked his bike so Netflix only played while he was cycling? Genius.
Huh, that's brilliant. So the formula is like, after my current habit, I do the habit I need. Then after the habit I need, I get to do the habit I want.
You got it. After I get my morning coffee, current, I will meditate for 5 minutes, need. After I meditate for 5 minutes, need, I will check my favorite news site, want. You bundle the want reward right after the need habit.
Makes the need habit more attractive because it leads directly to the want. What else makes habits attractive? Social norms.
Oh, massively. We are deeply social creatures. We want to fit in, belong, earn respect. It's wired into us from our tribal ancestors. Being ostracized was dangerous.
So we naturally imitate others.
We do, especially 3 groups. 1, the close people we spend time with, friends, family. If your friends are all runners, running seems more attractive. 2, the many, the majority. We check reviews, follow trends, we assume the crowd knows something. And 3, the powerful people we admire or see as successful. We copy their behaviors, hoping to gain similar status or results.
So surrounding yourself with people who have the habits you want makes those habits more attractive.
Absolutely. Joining a group where your desired behavior is the normal behavior is a powerful way to maintain motivation.
Can we also change how we feel about a habit? Reframe the craving?
Yes. It's about changing the associations. Think about Alan Carr's method for stopping smoking. He doesn't focus on the negatives of smoking. He systematically reframes every positive association the smoker has. You think smoking relaxes you? No, it destroys your nerves. You think it's social? No, it makes you stand outside alone.
So you change the prediction your brain makes about the habit. Instead of predicting pleasure, it predicts the negative reality.
Exactly. Habits are driven by the prediction of reward. Change the prediction, change the feeling, change the habit.
And finally, under Make It Attractive, motivation rituals.
Little routines you do right before a difficult habit to make starting easier. Like the boxer who put on headphones before writing the headphones became a cue that meant focus time, or Twyla Tharp hailing a cab to go to the gym. This simple ritual started the whole process. It makes the start of the habit more appealing.
Okay, Law 3, make it easy. This feels crucial.
It really is, because we naturally gravitate towards the path of least resistance. First, it's important to distinguish motion from action.
Motion being planning, researching, strategizing, but not actually doing the thing.
Right. It feels productive, but it's often procrastination. Action is doing the reps, and habits form based on frequency, not time spent. Each repetition strengthens the neural pathway, like building a muscle.
So getting started, even imperfectly, is key. Repetition over perfection.
Absolutely, and this ties into the law of least effort. We are fundamentally wired to conserve energy. So make your desired habits the easiest option. Reduce the friction.
How? Environment design again.
Definitely. Set up your space to make good habits effortless. If you want to eat healthier, put fruit out on the counter, hide the junk food, choose a gym that's on your commute, eliminate steps between you and the habit.
Like those Japanese manufacturers optimizing every tiny step, addition by subtraction.
Exactly. Remove wasted effort. Frictionless experiences are habit forming. Think Amazon, one-click ordering, ride-sharing apps, meal kits. They remove steps. How can you remove steps for your good habit?
And priming the environment.
Yeah.
Setting things up for future you.
Yeah. Make the next action easy. Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Put the healthy ingredients at the front of the fridge. Chop veggies on Sunday for easy weeknight meals. Reset your workspace at the end of the day. Be proactively lazy.
Then there's the 2-minute rule. This one seems almost too simple.
It's incredibly effective because it's simple. The rule: when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do.
Scale it way down. Read 30 books a year becomes read 1 page. Run a marathon becomes put on my running shoes.
Exactly. It overcomes inertia. Anyone can read one page or put on their shoes. It's about making it so easy you can't say no. It ritualizes the start of the process, which is often the hardest part.
And the idea is to just do the 2 minutes, even if you could do more, at least initially.
Yes. Master the art of showing up. Build the habit first, then optimize later. One person lost over 100 pounds, starting with just going to the gym for 5 minutes. It cemented the identity of someone who doesn't miss workouts. It's better to do less than you hoped than nothing at all.
And then you can use habit shaping to gradually increase the duration or difficulty once the initial habit is established.
Precisely. Start small, establish consistency, then build. Okay, law 4. Make it satisfying.
This is about closing the loop, right? Making sure the brain gets that job well done signal.
Absolutely. The cardinal rule of behavior change: what is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided.
But the problem is, good habits often have delayed rewards. Exercise feels hard now, benefits come later, while bad habits have immediate rewards. Junk food tastes good now, consequences come later.
Exactly. Our brains evolved for immediate gratification. The modern world demands delayed gratification. This mismatch causes problems.
So the solution is to find a way to bring an immediate reward to good habits.
Yes, add a little bit of immediate pleasure. Remember the hand washing study in Pakistan? They didn't just educate people, they provided soap that smelled great and foamed nicely. That small sensory pleasure made the habit stick and dramatically improved health outcomes.
So how can we apply that? Create our own rewards.
Yeah, like a loyalty program for yourself.
Yeah.
Set up a savings account for something fun, like Trip Fund. Every time you skip buying that expensive coffee or avoid an impulse purchase, transfer the money saved into that account. Seeing the balance grow is an immediate, satisfying reward.
But the reward needs to align with the identity you're trying to build, right?
Yeah.
Rewarding exercise with ice cream sends a mixed message.
Crucial point. The reward should reinforce the habit, not contradict it. A massage after a tough workout reinforces self-care. Ice cream undermines your health goal.
Habit tracking is another way to make things satisfying.
One of the best ways. Simply marking an X on a calendar, moving a paperclip, using an app, it provides immediate visual evidence of your progress.
What are the benefits?
It acts as a visual cue. It's motivating because you see your streak building and don't want to break it. The act of recording success is it's self-satisfying, and it reinforces your identity by showing you proof you're becoming that person.
The don't break the chain method. But what if you do miss a day?
The key rule is never miss twice. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new negative pattern. Get back on track immediately the next day. Don't fall into the all-or-nothing trap. Showing up, even imperfectly, maintains momentum and reinforces identity.
And sometimes we need to measure different things if one metric isn't moving, like focusing on non-scale victories for weight loss.
Exactly. If the scale isn't budging, track things like energy levels, how your clothes fit, better sleep. Find metrics that show progress and provide that satisfying feedback.
Okay, the inversion. Make it unsatisfying. How do we break bad habits using this?
Make the consequences immediate and painful, or at least unpleasant. Pain is a powerful teacher. Businesses face immediate consequences for bad service, lost customers. Surgeons face immediate consequences for errors. When feedback is swift and costly, learning is fast.
So we need to introduce an immediate cost for our bad habits, accountability.
Yes, accountability is key. Roger Fisher's wild idea about the nuclear codes next to a volunteer's heart making the president face an immediate, horrific cost before launching missiles. That's extreme, but the principle holds.
How can we use that realistically? Accountability partners.
Definitely. Just knowing someone else is watching makes you less likely to skip. Or formal habit contracts. You write down your goal, the consequences for failing, and sign it with an accountability partner.
Like Brian Harris, who agreed to pay his trainer $200 and wear formal clothes if he missed logging his food.
Exactly. The public commitment and the specific, painful consequence made the cost of failure immediate and real. It makes the delayed negative outcome of the bad habit feel present now.
You can even automate it, like the guy having his assistant change his social media passwords weekly.
Right. Increase the friction and add a social consequence or penalty. It makes the costs of indulging in the bad habit public and painful.
Okay, we've covered the 4 laws. Now for some advanced tactics. Genes and talent, how much do they matter?
They matter, but not in the way people often think. Genes don't dictate your destiny, but they do influence your areas of opportunity. They make certain skills easier or more satisfying for you to learn.
Like Phelps in swimming versus El Garouge in running. Their bodies are built for their sports.
Perfect example. Competence is highly context dependent. Genes influence almost everything, personality included. Think of the big five personality traits: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism. Your genes predispose you to lean certain ways on these spectrums.
So the key is to play a game that suits your strengths. Find your niche.
Exactly. You can find it through trial and error, but a more structured approach is the explore-exploit trade-off. Explore broadly at first, try lots of things. Then, when you find something that clicks, where you feel engaged and effective, exploit that, go deep. Ask yourself, when do I feel most alive? When do I feel like the real me?
And if you can't find the perfect game, maybe create your own. Combine skills.
That's a powerful strategy. Combine skills where you're good, not necessarily world-class, to create a unique niche where you can be the best. Play a game where the odds are in your favor. Work hard on the things that come easier to you. Fulfill your potential.
Okay, staying motivated long term. The Goldilocks rule.
This is about finding that sweet spot of challenge. We're most motivated when we're working on tasks that are right on the edge of our current abilities. Not too easy, boring. Not too hard, discouraging, but just right.
Like Steve Martin gradually building his comedy routine, challenging himself just enough.
Precisely. Always pushing the edge slightly, that just manageable difficulty keeps you engaged. But the biggest threat to long-term habits isn't failure, it's boredom.
Ah, once a habit becomes automatic, it can lose its appeal.
Exactly. This is where professionals separate themselves. Amateurs stop when they get bored. Professionals stick to the schedule even when it feels monotonous. They find a way to handle the boredom of doing the same thing over and over.
You have to fall in love with boredom, in a way.
But there's a potential downside to automatic habits too, right? Mindless repetition.
Yes. Once something is automatic, you might stop paying attention to feedback or small errors. You just go through the motions. Performance can actually plateau or even decline slightly if you're not careful.
So we need systems for reflection and review, like deliberate practice, essential for mastery. You need both automatic habits and periods of conscious reflection to fine-tune them. Think of Pat Riley calculating detailed performance metrics for his Lakers players. Or Chris Rock testing jokes in small clubs and taking notes. Or executives keeping decision journals.
It's about consciously checking in and making adjustments, not just running on autopilot forever.
Improvement requires both automation and refinement. Okay, let's circle back to identity and emotion one last time.
For true mastery, identity needs to be flexible.
Yes. If your identity is too tightly tied to one role, I am a CEO, I am an athlete, what happens when that role changes? You need to define yourself more broadly based on underlying qualities. I'm the type of person who builds things. I'm the type of person who embraces challenges. That's more resilient.
And the role of emotion is paramount.
Absolutely fundamental. Logic isn't enough. Emotion drives action. Craving, a feeling, precedes the response. We interpret events emotionally first, then rationally. This is why appealing to emotion is so powerful in persuasion.
And suffering, or rather the desire for change, drives progress.
It does. That gap between our current state and desired state fuels motivation. But it can also lead to dissatisfaction, explained by the equation. Satisfaction, liking, wanting.
If your wants constantly outpace what you achieve, your liking, you'll never feel satisfied.
Pretty much. Happiness is often relative to expectations. The pain of failure is linked to the height of expectation. Feelings drive the start, craving, and feelings drive the repetition, satisfaction, reward. Desire initiates, pleasure sustains.
Wow. Okay, that brings us to the end of this deep dive. We've covered a ton: tiny habits compounding, systems over goals, identity change, the 4 laws, making things obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying.
And there are inversions for breaking bad habits. Plus, genes, motivation, reflection, emotion, it all ties together to show that success really is the product of small, consistent daily habits.
So, the final thought for you, the listener. We talked about actions being votes for the person you're becoming. What kind of person are you voting to be? Look around you. How is your environment already set up, maybe subtly, to make certain actions easy and others hard? What one tiny atomic adjustment could you make today, truly small, that might shift your long-term trajectory, even if you won't see the result right away? What's your next vote?